Thank you. Now it's back to the Socialists and Democrats, Mr. Scicluna.
Yes, thank you. Mr. Rehn, my colleagues have already referred to the Stability and Growth Pact in the sense that it was not adequate enough to ensure the capacity of the member states to meet their financial obligation in difficult times by giving them room for maneuver. And you replied in the sense that we would be looking more into economic policy coordination and surveillance. But I want to go back to this question of statistics, because I believe that the credibility of the SGP itself is at stake when many countries lack a genuinely independent statistical institution, while others lack good statistical governance. I mean, you just referred to two serious breakdowns in statistical governance in one particular country, but I'm sure that there could be others which have not been discovered. Don't you think that we, so how can we be so optimistic? How can we, don't you think that we need to include some oversight requirements? For example, even with many governments putting overly optimistic forecasts, which in turn then have repercussions on the public finances. And what about member states being required to have such independent institutions to provide also credibility of the medium-term fiscal governance?
Thank you. In fact, I have asked my cabinet to study the case of Greece as regards its statistical system and the functioning of the statistical system. And also I was asking information concerning the other member states, and the information I have received is that Greece is an exceptional case, and the problems are indeed very serious, as presented in the Commission's report, which we adopted on Friday, and therefore corrective measures needs to be taken in order to ensure the independence and professionalism and accountability of the statistical system in Greece. For instance, in the case of the euro entry of Slovakia, you may recall, or if you don't recall, I can tell you that Slovakia had to face a very rigorous testing of its public sector deficit by the Eurostat. The Eurostat used its methodological missions in order to evaluate things like how certain infrastructure investments or hospital expenditures are classified in the national accounts of Slovakia. And I was actually encouraged by this example, because I have learned from this from several sources, and I think this is kind of rigor that we have to encourage and ensure that our statistics are conducted well in the national level, at the national level, and the Eurostat does its part in terms of ensuring that this whole system works effectively and accountably.
My concern is how you're trying to strike a balance between the Commission being very strict with these serious breakdowns, but at the same time we don't want the Commission to be a big daddy to do everything for which the Member States should be doing themselves, and not just in the statistical field, but also for creating fiscal rules. Why should they always rely on the GPS when there are many good countries, well-run, who have their own fiscal rules, which will help them in formulating a medium-term fiscal framework?
This is a question we can, in my view, well deal with in the context of the communication on economic policy coordination and surveillance. And we have initially discussed about the possibility of having more emphasis on the mid-term development of public finances of the euro area, or for that matter non-euro area member states in the context of the stability and convergence programs. I think it's one of the lessons of the current crisis that we have to really look into the medium term and take action already in the short term to ensure that our public finances are on a sustainable course.
Thank you. Now it's Mr. Pada.
Aitäh. Nüüd kohtumisel härra Barrosoga oli meile juttu ja härra Barroso ka lubas,